Welcome. I'm the Parliament Raven. Welcome. Pull up a seat. Pour yourself a cup of tea. My name's Jason Rodriguez, and I'm the Parliament Raven. And today, we're going to talk about giving. When people hear the word giving, they may jump to the idea of money or offerings or tithes, paying a bill, right? Giving what you owe somebody. But today I want to take that really out of the box and set those ideas to the side and look through a much wider lens, because giving is more of a way of life than it is an action. Right? So, what this episode's not going to be about. It's not going to be about tithing percentages. It's not going to be about financial church obligations. It's not going to be a guilt trip. It's not going to be about me asking for a cup of coffee, right? This episode is going to be about lifestyle and how you look for opportunities to pour out to others, an attitude of joy of giving, and a posture that reflects God's nature. Right? That's what we're going to look at. Let's 2 Corinthians is a great example of this. Verse 9, or chapter 9, verse 11. Each one must give as he has decided in his heart, not reluctantly or under compulsion, for God loves a cheerful giver. And when I think of cheerful giver, I think of Scrooge at the end of A Christmas Carol, where he buys the duck for Tiny Tim, and never was a better man as Scrooge, because he gave with a cheerful heart, right? You think of this miser turning into this life-changing sharer and giver to people. So why does a giving heart matter in a world today where people are greedy and will take advantage of that? Giving pulls us out of self-focus and reconnects us with the bigger, wider picture of God's creation and of the world and our lives. It builds up emotional resilience. When you pour out, you discover how much you truly have. There's a heart of gratefulness. And man, one of the keys to mitigating everything from depression to anxiety to negative thought is to reflect on and be grateful for the things you have. And always the perspective of giving out of a giving heart makes you reflect on being grateful for what you have. I think of a time of working with the Genesis Project in Oklahoma with Jason and Tara Hamlin, and they would get food and diapers and toothpaste and all sorts of stuff. And I'd unload these huge trucks donating from CVS and Albertsons. But that wasn't the fun part. Was when we would go to neighborhoods and we'd post that we were going to have this free market to help people in need. And man, we'd set up these like mini grocery stores and parking lots, and people would come and get diapers and stuff they needed that they could normally not afford, or they were just at the end of the month and they just didn't have the money. And I remember it reflected back to when I was a kid and we were very poor, as my dad was just working at the Navy shipyard, and we would get government provisions. We'd get government cheese and a bag of rice and a bag of beans. And I remember being fed that way, and now they have SNAP and stuff, and people take advantage of that. And you can get, for some reason, they allow you to get all sorts of things from fast food to stuff at convenience stores, versus the olden days where you could really just get the necessities like bread and jam and rice and beans. But that's neither here nor there. The moments that these people would light up and I could reflect on the things I had. And I was struggling at the time. I was in my master's program. I had a job. I was barely making it on school loans and thing. I was living by myself in Oklahoma. But I was so grateful for being able to have what I had, a roof over my head, a nice roof over my head, food for I had 3 meals a day. And sometimes I would get a fourth if I would go eat on campus, if I could afford to eat on campus. But it really did grow in the act of me wanting to give. And since then, I've become a better tipper. I've become a better giver. Just because when I was poor, I didn't have it, and it was very hard to give out of my meager. And I remember in the Bible, it talks about this woman at the temple and this priest at the temple, and Jesus sees them both, and the priest gives this big old donation tithe, and this woman drops a single coin, and the Lord's like, the one who's blessed is the old woman who gave of what the last of what she had joyfully versus the man who had plenty and gave so little. So I think about these things, and I think about how it reflects and influences me and my life in gratefulness as I'm able to give to others with a thankful heart. Now, money is not the only way you can give. Like when I was talking about Jason Hamlin, I was talking about time, and if we can go into the four powerful ways to give, and one of those is time, and it's unfocused, undistracted, contribute to the needs of the saints and seek out hospitalities. Romans 12:13, giving of your time. You can give of your words, speaking encouragement. Man, we did a whole thing on speaking encouragement, especially when it's least expected. Sometimes the right sentence can be more valuable than a check. Not move, but be more valuable than a check, and can move a heart that might be on the precipice of pain. Skills, talent skills. I have a friend by the name of Eric, and who's a sailor. He gives a skill there, but if you need help, and he can do it, he can, from using in woodworking to design, which he's an architect. He can design stuff. You need somebody to help you pack books up in boxes. Eric is there. Eric is a great example of using skills and giving to others through those skills. When people need a hand, he's there. And if he can do it, and if he can't do it, he'll learn how to do it and do it, right? So he likes giving out of those skills. And sometimes presents. When I was in my 20s and I was super poor, I barely had enough money to even eat. The meals were scant. I learned to eat on real slim. Top ramen, popcorn, and sometimes the stuff that's you have to eat the day of, and you eat 2 days later and you get sick from. But during birthday parties or parties and stuff where you're supposed to be grift, I said, all my friends know that my presence, me being there, was my present, because gas even was a hard press. But your presence in grief or moments of joy can be powerful, because it says that to the person that they matter that at that moment. For instance, tonight I'm going to an event with some guys I haven't been to in a while, and I'm just giving of I have things to do, but I want to give them of my time because they matter, and their presence matters to me, and I want to show them that with me being there. So there's some things you can do to check where your heart is on these issues. And one is definitely at the table with the tip check and a bad service. And to check if you're going to give I wish there was no such thing as tips in America. I wish we were like other countries and paid a reasonable wage. But it is a way of heart checking. It's known that believers are the worst tippers in the United States. And that's sad. Because if our God is a God of abundance, we should be able to tip. Oh, I didn't used to believe that, but man, the older I get, the more I see the wisdom in that. It is a reflection of who we are. Here's some questions for you. I have a list. Do you give reluctantly or joyfully? Do you give when you think you're going to get something back? Is that the only time you give? Do you give from overflow of fear or losing what you have? You should write those down. I'll say them again quickly. Do you give reluctantly or joyfully? Do you give only when you think something is coming back, or do you give from an overflow of fear or of losing out or thinking you're going to lose out? The outward act of giving can look generous while the inward motive can be guarded. Heart check, right? Whoever brings blessings will be enriched, and one who waters will himself be watered. That's Proverbs 11:25, and that applies, right? But it's out of the heart in which you're giving. You could give $1,000,000 to a church out of your money. And if your heart is just like tax break, or you think that it's your responsibility, that's not giving out of joy. If I was a pastor, I'd rather you give me time than money, if that's what brings you joy. If you're a millionaire and you want to take a break in on Sunday, sling coffee at the coffee bar at the church, or you just want to move chairs, and that's your way of tithing, then man, absolutely. Absolutely. If you want to tithe money too, go for it. If you don't, if your heart says don't do it, then don't do it. Hey, I'd rather a cheerful giver than someone who gets tied up or becomes a jerk because they're giving. Or here's another thing. If you think that by giving is going to give you some sort of authority or front of the line pass, then don't give. Just don't. In some places, that's what's going to happen. It's just the way of the world. But anywhere, especially for me, don't do it. If I'm speaking at your church, if I'm teaching at your church or your conference, and the people are sitting there don't feel led to give with a cheerful heart, maybe what I'm talking about is not worth it, don't give a dime. I'm not there to make money. I'm there to impart. That's me giving to you, the listener who's sitting in front of me. Just like in my classes, I'm there to give my students a leg up, a power up, a charge, a coaching, from zero to hero like in Hercules, right? Jesus is always the model of a giving heart. His time, his touch, his patience, his healing. Ultimately, the thing he gave us was his life to reconnect us to a relationship with the Father, to be able to rewrite and repent from this program of sin that's in our brains, that's continually working for us to be selfish, horrible people. And if you don't believe that, look at history and look at, as the church has spread, how much the world has gotten better. There's plenty of atheists who have spoken on the subject. So, pointed weekly challenge. That's how I wrote it in here. This week, intentionally practice one act of giving. Time, words, skills, presence. Okay. But 2 rules. First rule, you must act completely anonymous. No recognition, no I did this on your post, nothing. Nada. I see a lot of Instagram and TikTok posts where people are giving money and then posting it, or people are giving to the homeless and posting it. And some of those are good, right? They're there so that they can do it. My favorite are the guys who go to people who can't do their yards or their lawns, and they do that. And that's how they do it for free. And then after a while, they've started making money off of it so that they could do more. They could work less and do that more. I don't find anything wrong with that. Okay. Rule number 2, one act must be outside your normal circle. Let's do an act of kindness out of your normal circle. By doing this, you'll discover the generosity isn't draining, it's deeply fulfilling, and it grows the capacity to love more. Okay. So let me repeat the challenge. Time, work, skills, or presence. You can give out of any of those 4. Rule 1, completely anonymous. Rule 2, someone outside of your circle. Luke 6:38. Give, and it will be given unto you. Good measure, pressed down, shaken together, and running over. And that's for everybody. believer, non-believer, new covenant awesomeness. Till next time, pour yourself another cup of tea, and I'll talk to you soon.
Like, subscribe, leave a good comment. Thanks for visiting the Parliament. If you want to know about Gravitas coaching, please visit gravitas.co. It's also where we host the Parliament. Join the conversation on Facebook at the Parliament Raven Podcast. Last but not least, the intro and outro music credits. Intro music by Russ Budgeon and outro music by Sarnav Aravistov.